Wall Street bankers have diabolically created a money system designed to crash if the economy does not continuously grow their private profits. It is a work of genius. Recall my earlier mention of the bookkeeping entry by which a bank creates new money when it issues a loan. Now, the catch is that that entry creates only the principal of the loan that must be repaid. It does not create the amount of the interest that the borrower must also repay. Now, what that means out of all the loans in society is that to avoid sending the financial system into default and thereby collapsing the whole economy, much like we're now experiencing, the economy must always grow fast enough to generate sufficient demand for new loans to create the money required to make the interest payments on the previous loans. The consequence is ever-increasing debt, inequality, destruction of the natural environment, and destruction of the social fabric of community. There is an alternative with far less pernicious consequences. Most people assume that money is created by the federal government. Anybody here that has assumed that the government creates our money? A couple of people. Well, it's a pretty smart group. Either that or you're bashful. Because, of course, the truth is that the government doesn't create our money, but it should. As new money is required to maintain an adequate and stable money supply, the federal government can and should spend it into existence to fund public infrastructure and to meet other public needs. This kind of a money system is called a social credit money system. And we must now demand that our politicians replace our debt money, private bank-created money system with a social credit system in which money is issued by the government to serve a public good. A system of publicly issued money will increase financial stability while reducing debt, taxes, inequality, and environmental harm. Best of all, it will strip Wall Street money managers of much of their power and profits. Too bad. Now, whether by cunning or stupidity, Wall Street has created a system of financial systems, financial institutions so interlocked that the failure of one puts the entire financial system and economy at risk. This is where we need to seriously restructure our financial institutions. No bank should be too big to fail. And no bank should be placed at risk by the failure of another. Those should be two primary goals of the restructuring. Now, the federal government should move immediately to nationalize the failed banks, as many prominent economists are recommending. Then, as it cleans up their books, the government should break them up into their component pieces and sell off their local branches to local Main Street investors to operate as individual community banks, mutual savings and loan associations, and credit unions dedicated to serving the financial needs of their local communities within a strong regulatory framework. Now, those of you who are of my generation will know that there is nothing whatever exotic about this, because that's exactly the way our banking system was organized when we were growing up. Banks should be required to hold and bear the risk of the loans they make. That's just a fundamental feedback mechanism to ensure a little integrity. The securitization of loans bears major responsibility for the financial crash, and it should be prohibited. And I think you'll like this one too. Hedge funds and private equity funds are purely financial predators engaged in high-stakes gambling and asset stripping. Regulation is not an adequate answer. These purely predatory institutions serve no useful function and should be shut down. Insurance companies like the infamous AIG should be confined to insuring real assets. They should also be broken up into their component units, and their gambling operations should be shut down. The units that provide legitimate insurance services should be restructured as mutual associations owned by and accountable to their policyholders. This is also not exotic. This is the way it was when I was growing up. Restructuring the money system is an ambitious goal, and this is only one element of the 12 items on the national agenda I spell out in this book. Moving forward requires building public awareness and building political support for a serious and comprehensive new economic agenda. So get a copy of the book. I'll be over at the bookstore signing right after this event, and organize a discussion group to engage your friends, colleagues, and neighbors in an exploration of the economic alternatives at hand. It is a simple but rarely noted truth revealed to me by Cecile Andrews, Seattle's own mother of revolutionary conversation. Every great transformational social movement begins with a conversation. Honest conversation that challenges the destructive deceptions of corporate media, as for example the economic growth story, may be the ultimate revolutionary act of our time. And our Seattle area is the heart of that revolution. GreenFest is an example. Now, Cecile has actually been a driving national force behind the voluntary simplicity movement. And that movement, as many of you know, was born when people came together in their living rooms, a very innocent act, to share their stories about what brings them true happiness and sense of fulfillment. Lo and behold, in those conversations, they discovered that true happiness comes from family, community, nature, and being in control of one's own life, not from buying and selling and consuming products advertised by Wall Street corporations. Cecile, it happens, is now hosting a weekly public discussion group on Agenda for a New Economy on Thursday evenings from 6 to 7:30 at the Greenwood branch of the Seattle Public Library. Cecile, are you in the audience? Would you please stand up? There's Cecile. So if you want any more information, check with her. She's also volunteered to help anyone who's interested in organizing their own discussion groups. I'm also told by the Conversation Cafe people that these conversation tables out here, they're going to have a Conversation Cafe on this lecture right after the session. And any discussion of economic alternatives properly starts with the basic question, what's an economy for, anyway? Now that happens to be the title of a new video by our celebrated Seattle documentary producer, John DeGraff. John, where are you? There's John. Hey. John is going to be presenting the world premiere screening of What's the Economy For Anyway this afternoon at 5 p.m. in room 4C2, and I urge you to check it out. It is accurate, humorous, and a great discussion starter. And don't forget those street demonstrations. As you engage this challenging work in its many dimensions, keep in mind that we are privileged to live at the most dangerous but also the most exciting moment of creative opportunity in the whole of the human experience. We have the power to turn this world around for the sake of ourselves, our children, for generations to come, and the creative unfolding of life on earth. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Thank you. Thank you.